We got a huge civil trial coming up between one of the most universally disparaged groups in the UK, the Tabloids, and one of its most sought-after subjects, Prince Harry, the Duke of Essex. Harry claims outlets owned by media titan Rupert Murdoch used deceptive tactics to pry into his private life for decades, and he says he wants the truth about the sordid practices to come fully into the light. We're going to take a look at how we got here as the now former royal prepares for trial. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. The so-called black sheep of the British royal family says he wants to hold British media accountable after years of having his private matters thrust into the public eye. We're talking, of course, about Prince Harry, who married actress Meghan Markle in 2018, now lives in the United States and California. And after a rift with the royal family, he and Meghan stepped down from their official senior royal duties. And to be clear, while they still have the titles of Duke and Duchess of Sussex, they're no longer addressed as his or her Royal Highness. And Harry also gave up his military titles as well. But let's not forget Harry, now 40 years old, is fifth in line for the throne. His father, King Charles III, ascended when Harry's grandmother, Queen Elizabeth II, died in 2022. His brother, Prince William, is next in line, followed by his children, George, Charlotte, and Louis. And Harry's children, with Meghan, still retain their prince and princess titles. But aside from short visits to meet with the king and sadly events like funerals, Harry's main reason for returning to the United Kingdom over the past several years has been to deal with court cases. He's been the claimant in multiple civil lawsuits accusing some of the biggest British tabloids of unlawful information gathering. He's one of just two remaining claimants going up against Rupert Murdoch's News Group newspapers. That trial is expected to begin this month. And Harry, by the way, has already faced off with a different tabloid publisher, Mirror Group Newspapers, but that resulted in a partial victory. We'll talk about that. But we can't forget that when it comes to Prince Harry, he has always been in the spotlight. From the moment his mother, Princess Diana, and his father, Prince Charles, emerged from the hospital days after he was born and presented him to the media, he has been in the spotlight. The worldwide obsession with the royals, especially Diana, fueled just a media frenzy that has lasted for years. And particularly when we talk about Princess Diana, of course, she died in that high-speed car crash in Paris in 1997 as her driver just sped through a tunnel trying to escape cars that were full of paparazzi that were chasing them. Harry was just 12 years old. As a teenager, Harry was often featured in the press and was labeled a wild child. He was photographed smoking marijuana, drinking while underage, physically clashing with paparazzi. How can we forget what happened in 2005? He was photographed at a costume party wearing a Nazi uniform with a swastika armband, which of course sparked a huge outcry from the public and the palace. A formal apology was issued, and in an interview ahead of his 21st birthday, Harry stated that it was a very stupid thing to do and that he learned his lesson. But Harry and his romantic relationships, that has always been fodder for the tabloids. In a now infamous interview with Oprah Winfrey in 2021, Harry told her the UK tabloid media is bigoted and creates a toxic environment of control and fear. He also acknowledged that the royal family is scared of the press and what could happen if the press turns on them. By the way, I have to thank Upside for sponsoring today's Law&Crime YouTube takeover. It helps make this episode possible. Now, Upside's awesome. It is a free app that gives you cash back on gas, groceries, and restaurants. It is super easy to use. You just claim an offer in the app. You pay as usual using your credit card. You get paid. This is actually real cash back. You can use Upside at places like Shell, Exxon, 7-Eleven, Chipotle. Look here, I used it at this gas station, got cash back. So to find out how much you can earn, you click the link in the description to download Upside, or you scan the QR code on screen, and make sure to use our promo code LCTakeover because you'll get an extra 25 cents back on every gallon on your first tank of gas. So with all that in mind, I want to talk now about the upcoming civil trial and what got us here. When News Group newspapers, referred to as NGN, was first sued, there were more than 40 claimants. But according to the BBC, 39 of those cases were resolved with the settlement by November of last year. Prince Harry and former Labour Party deputy leader Tom Watson are the only ones left standing. The timeline of the battles between Harry and the tabloids can be a little bit complex, so I kind of want to break it down for you, but invasion of privacy scandals have a long and sordid history in the United Kingdom. In November of 2005, the now defunct News of the World reported that Prince William had a knee injury, so the palace launched an investigation to find out how exactly they got that information. Well, the police looked into it, and a police inquiry uncovered that the information actually came from a voicemail that was hacked. So in 2006, News of the World reporter Clive Goodman and a private investigator, they were arrested. Goodman was sentenced to 4 months in prison, the PI got 6 months, and the News of the World editor also ended up resigning, although he denied knowing anything about this hacking. By 2011, outrage over the privacy violations reached new heights when the Guardian newspaper reported that years earlier, News of the World journalists hacked into voicemails left for a murdered 13-year-old girl while police were still searching for her. And guess what happened? The News of the World, they shut down their publication. Celebrities, politicians, others, they've started filing lawsuits against Rupert Murdoch and his news companies. Rupert Murdoch himself appeared at a parliamentary hearing about the invasion of privacy, calling it the most humble day of my life. But he and his son James, they denied any responsibility for any of the wrongdoing here. And Rupert Murdoch, by the way, is a very, very big person in media. He is the man behind a massive media empire that includes The Sun and The Times in the UK, The Daily Telegraph in Australia, The Wall Street Journal and New York Post here in the US, and of course, Fox News. Now, AP reports that Mirror Group printed an apology to phone hacking victims in 2015, and by 2023, had paid more than £100 million to settle hundreds of claims. In October 2019, it was announced that Harry had sued the publishers of the Daily Mirror, The Sun, the now defunct News of the World. The Sun and News of the World were run by NGN. The Daily Mirror was run by the publisher Mirror Group. But Harry alleged that not only had the tabloids obtained information about him illegally, but he also claimed they'd hacked his phone. NGN and Mirror Group have denied the claims, although Mirror Group newspaper's attorney Andrew Green did apologize for one instance in which they hired a private investigator to dig up dirt on the prince. By the way, that particular instance was not included in the claims that Harry brought. This is according to the BBC. But Harry's claims against the Mirror Group, they went to court first. And Harry accused them of using unlawful techniques on a, quote, industrial scale, alleging that between 1996 and 2010, the Daily Mirror published more than 100 articles about him that contained information they had gotten illegally. This is according to Newsweek. Prince Harry actually took the stand to testify in 2023. That is a big deal, by the way. That was the first time a member of the British royal family had done that since the 1800s. In a written statement that was released on the day he testified, Harry wrote, "I genuinely feel that in every relationship that I've ever had, be that with friends, girlfriends, with family, or with the army, there's always been a third party involved, namely the tabloid press." Harry, by the way, has particular dislike of TV personality and former editor of the Daily Mirror, Piers Morgan, who he claims knew about the hacking. Multiple witnesses testified that Morgan knew what was going on, and the judge ruled there, quote, could be no doubt that executives at the publisher had to have known what was going on. But Piers Morgan has always insisted that he had no knowledge of illegal information being gathered whatsoever. But the judge ruled in December of 2023 that it was likely that the Mirror Group newspapers, which included the Daily Mirror, Sunday Mirror, and Sunday People, had used illegal methods to obtain information found in 15 out of a sample of 33 articles. So that partial win for Prince Harry led to an award of £140,000 in damages, with Harry and Mirror Group newspapers reaching a £400,000 settlement on the rest of the claims. So obviously the monetary award is big, but also the fact from a PR point of view that they are responsible, that's big. And I imagine this is a way that they change their tactics moving forward. Now, when it comes to Harry's lawsuit against NGN, there has been a lot of back and forth about whether or not phone hacking claims could be included in this civil action. Eventually, in July of 2023, a high court judge, Justice Timothy Fancourt, determined that Harry's case involving the alleged illegal information gathering could go to trial. But as for his phone hacking claims, those were dismissed. The BBC reports that under UK law, a claimant has 6 years after a privacy breach to take legal action. But this is where things get a little more dicey, because a few months earlier, Harry had disclosed that there was a deal between royal aides and higher-ups at NGN, which said that any privacy actions against NGN should be delayed and eventually settled out of court. So Harry cites that as one of the reasons why he didn't bring a legal action years ago when he first learned about the alleged violations. But lawyers for NGN, they say there was never any such agreement and that Harry's claims were time barred. Harry told the court that the royal family wanted to try to avoid scandal, In the 1990s, the palace dealt with an onslaught of scrutiny after a phone call between his father, then Prince Charles, and his future stepmother, Camilla Parker Bowles, was intercepted and details were published. According to Harry, NGN paid a, quote, huge sum of money in 2020 to settle claims that its journalists hacked Prince William's cell phone. The exact amount was not disclosed, and a spokesperson for Prince William didn't respond to that claim, but despite that, that allegation was made. But the court determined that the evidence given to support Harry's claim of a secret agreement, it was just too vague, it was too limited, according to the BBC. So it was just the illegal information gathering, those claims that were moving forward, not the phone hacking claims. And the judge's ruling identified those claims as blagging of confidential information from third parties and instructing private investigators to do these or other unlawful acts. Now you might be saying, what is blagging? I know we had to look it up too. So blagging is apparently when you obtain restricted information through deception, like pretending to be someone you're not to get access to a system or pull information from someone. Now the court never actually said that Harry had missed the deadline to file the phone hacking claims, according to the BBC, but instead it said it is not sufficiently clear at this stage that it was issued too late and should be decided at trial. And in another twist, Justice Fancourt pointed out that, quote, a large number of potentially relevant documents and, quote, confidential messages between the prince and the ghostwriter of his autobiography, Spare, were, quote, destroyed sometime between 2021 and 2023, well after this claim was underway, according to the BBC. And he ruled that a wider search needed to be done of Prince Harry's laptop, texts, WhatsApp messages, and Prince Harry was also ordered to produce a witness statement explaining how the messages with his ghostwriter went missing. Now, other well-known claimants have settled their legal actions with NGN, and those include actor Hugh Grant, actress Sienna Miller, Spice Girl Melanie Chisholm, also known as Sporty Spice. The Associated Press reports that Grant accused the son of unlawfully tapping his phone, bugging his car, breaking into his home to spy on him. At a hearing, the Press-Gazette reports that the court heard that Grant decided to settle because if he'd taken the case to trial, it could have ended up costing him £10 million in legal fees. Now, what is NGN's response to all this? Well, they have accused Prince Harry of drawing out the legal process just to punish the publisher. In a statement, a spokesperson for NGN said, quote, in 2011, an apology was published by NGN to victims of voicemail interception by the News of the World. The company publicly committed to paying financial compensation and since then has paid settlements to those with proper claims. In some disputed cases, it has made commercial sense to come to a settlement agreement before trial to bring a resolution to the matter. As we reach the tail end of the litigation, NGN is drawing a line under the disputed matters. The civil proceedings have been running for more than a decade and deal with events 13 to 28 years ago. It is common practice and indeed encouraged in litigation to seek to settle claims outside court where both parties agree without the cost of a trial. And The Independent reports that NGN has paid out hundreds of millions of pounds to more than 1,600 people. Harry has gone on the record recently saying that his lawsuits against the tabloid publishers aren't about the money, but instead about truth and accountability. Speaking at a New York Times summit in 2024, he said it's actually the cover-up of illegal actions that will be the most shocking thing to come out of the trial. He also noted our need for credible information is so important, more important now than ever. So what's next as everybody now prepares for this upcoming trial? Well, according to Reuters, Harry asked the court to order NGN to search emails to find any sent between royal staffers and executives at NGN. Justice Fancourt ruled that NGN should provide further documentation, including any proposal by NGN or its parent company, News Corp, to palace staff. So we're going to be keeping an eye on this case as it further develops. That's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll speak to you next time.